All right, guys, we are live. Welcome everybody to the next Developer DAO workshop. I'm Billy Jitsu. I have special guests from Near, Cameron Dennis, and Min. Go ahead and do a quick introduction for yourselves, and we'll get started on the workshop.
Beautiful. So, hey, everybody. My name is Cameron Dennis. I was working at Near Foundation for about 2 years, doing a wide variety of developer relations, investor relations, business development, pretty much like wear a lot of hats. And then in the last year or so, spun out of the Near Foundation to start an organization called the Banyan Collective to decentralize the ecosystem further by setting up city-specific communities, specifically in the United States, that are self-governing and are all dedicated to expanding the open web. This extends way beyond just Near, by the way, and I'll get into like what this means regarding in the lens of chain abstraction, because at the end of the day, we're all working towards the same goal, which is giving people access to their money, data, and governance without a third party. And yeah, this is the whole point is we need to expand way beyond just Near and work with other ecosystems and also all of Web 2, because if Web 3 can't do everything that Web 2 does but better, we're NGMI. So it's a quick intro on me. My main interest actually regarding key management, zero knowledge, decentralized governance, and the role of AI in the open web. So happy to talk more about this in greater detail later. But yeah, awesome. Min, we'll love you to
go for it, Min.
Cool. Good morning, guys. Or I guess afternoon for some of you. My name is Min. I work with Keepon. We're a account abstraction protocol on Near. We've done some project. We work a lot with the ecosystem projects like Shard Dog. They do a lot of drops and marketing with the community. We've also worked with the Near Foundation to ticket stuff like NearCon and Near APAC. And yeah, just happy to be here.
Nice. For anybody watching on YouTube, if you have any questions, comments, you go ahead and drop it on the comments channel, and we can broadcast it up there for the team. If you're on Twitter or on LinkedIn, come back to YouTube, basically. All right. So not to delay this anymore, I'll be stopping for any questions or comments on there. And questions about Near in general. One question that I did get a little bit earlier is like a lot of people had a hard time getting on Near through exchanges. So if you can. After questions, we can maybe talk about that too, just how to get started on there. And just so we know, we are having a hackathon starting on January 8th, correct? Over with Near. And then if you want to follow that calendar, we're going to post that a little bit shortly, but not to take over. I'm just going to let you guys take the show. Let's do it. You ready to have that share screen?
Absolutely. Yep.
There we go.
Boom. Great. So everybody, I already introduced myself, so I'm just going to hop right into it. If you want to follow the slides, you can scan this QR code or go to abstracting.org/BBI. In short, what Near is, it is a layer 1 blockchain, but it has been a layer 1 blockchain, and it is still a layer 1 blockchain, but we're expanding beyond just a layer 1 to be the entry point to the open web. And the whole goal is to provide a low-cost, scalable, and usable layer for the user-owned internet. And so it does this, or it is able to actually provide that experience because it has 1 second block finality, it's proof of stake, and it shards. Dynamic sharding is not fully live yet, but the idea is how do you scale state continuously? Let's say Facebook decides to launch on Near one day. How do all the validators actually maintain all that demand through dynamic sharding and being able to scale state that way? Theoretically, can produce or provide up to 100,000 transactions per second with fractions of a penny per transaction. And again, this is because of the sharding technology. Happy to dive into that a bit later, but it's really fast. And that's really what people need to know about, and it's super cheap. So this is sort of all in the lens of a hackathon that we're running right now called the Chain Abstraction Hackathon. There's about $10,000 of prizes at stake. As Billy mentioned, it kicks off next Monday, January 8th, and it lasts about 20 days. To January 28th. And the whole point here is how do we abstract blockchain complexities away from end users and even the chains themselves from end users. And we're going to dive into all the different layers of that stack that can actually provide that. The next thing that is just important to note is Near currently has some of the most used applications in the blockchain space. And this is because the ability to abstract the complexities away from the end users. The users of Kaiching and Sweat don't even know that they're using blockchains under the hood. And this is really what we're going to need in order to kind of break out of this sort of Web3 bubble that we're all in. Yeah, so that's how that works. And in order to actually facilitate this vision of the open web, there's all of these different layers. So starting at the kind of bottom layer, the settlement layer, these are the blockchains themselves. This is Near, Ethereum, any other L1 or L2. That is where like transactions actually get settled, primarily in the L1s. And then the next piece is the data availability component. You're going to need to make sure that all the data is available for people to, make decisions on and verify state in order to have this sort of multi-chain chain abstraction vision come to life. And so the next part is the execution layer. And I'm just kind of going to breeze through some of these because I'm going to dive into them in greater detail later. Next is accounts and identity. You're going to need multi-chain accounts across all these different ecosystems. KeyPalm, we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Assuming somebody actually has an account, then you're going to need the ability for them to transact with very low slippage and in a good experience. And so that's where this kind of cross-chain liquidity play comes in. And last but not least, there is the decentralized front-end component, because if all of these decentralized applications are really only the back end, only the contracts are decentralized, but the front end is still centralized, this poses a lot of significant risks, whether it's security, where people are actually losing their funds because front ends are being hijacked, or composability of applications, just similar to like how React components work today. Or, I mean, on the security side of things, there's a really big issue, around people switching the front ends. That's like a really, really big problem. We've seen like hundreds of millions of dollars being lost via these hacks. And we really want to help decentralize the front ends by actually storing the JavaScript code on chain in a near smart contract, and then executing it and rendering it locally in the browser of the user. So we're going to dive into that a little bit more. But with all these different pieces, you're able to kind of plug and play, and which, you're able to pull out the near data availability piece and apply that for your Ethereum L2, or just take the account aggregation piece, or just use near decentralized front end framework. And this is kind of where we frame it as like monolithic. You can have all of these things within one L1, i.e. near, or modular. You can just take the execution piece, or you could just take the account abstraction. I think it's pretty straightforward. So understanding account abstraction generally, I wish I could see the crowd right now, because I'd love to better understand like where everyone's coming from. Does everyone here from the ETH space? Or have you been following all the updates around account abstraction? Because if so, you would have noticed there's a lot of amazing progress happening in this world. And it's so important, because this is one of the keys that is going to unlock the ability to, again, abstract complexities away from end users. There's no way in hell that all of Beyonce's fans are going to be onboarded to Web3 by having to write down a 12 or 24 word seed phrase and manage this complex hexadecimal public key. It's just not going to work. And I know this because I've tried this. I've been in this space for about 7 years doing blockchain education at universities, and started the blockchain club at my school back in the day, just trying to evangelize and get people onboarded to ETH. It's really, really hard. And so Ethereum, most recently in the last year or so, has made a ton of progress to actually introduce this concept of like smart wallets. Historically, there's just these EOA wallets, externally owned accounts, and these accounts are pretty much just used for signing transactions, not necessarily managing an account. And I want to emphasize the difference here, because signing a transaction is just saying yes or no. This transaction is, I executed this transaction, my public key matches my private key. Yes, I'm able to send this money. A smart account or smart contract wallet, you're now able to manage access to the account. And Min from KeyPalm is going to dive into this a little bit more in greater detail later. But the whole idea here is like, well, what if you can actually create a bunch of access keys and then only hand an access key to a user that has a predefined amount of money in it, so they can only use this account for this use case? This is huge for kind of decreasing the barrier of entry or lowering it, because now your user might not need to have gas in order to actually transact. You might be able to put gas in that sub account, so they don't need to go to Coinbase or go to an exchange and buy ETH, send it to MetaMask, then be able to transact. And this is even more important for L2s. So I think this is like an absolute prerequisite to mass adoption. And all of this stuff is actually baked into Near itself. Like this is since day one, we have thought through this issue because now kind of digress a little bit around the history of Near. It started off as an AI company. And I'm not just saying that because it's hypey right now. It actually did. One of the co-founders of Near, he co-authored a paper called "Attention Is All You Need," and this is where most of the transformer research and development, like the T in ChatGPT, comes from, and is actually all based on this paper. And the whole point of Near originally was to pay people to label data around the world to train large language models. And I've a huge digression into that. But the idea here is we've been thinking about how do you actually build the open web for anybody? I'm talking like auntie in India who doesn't have a job and yet only has a smartphone, wants to get access to new opportunities by labeling data. We need to think about how we can design the account model for people like her. And it starts with easy onboarding, human readable accounts. So not every account, but every account has the option by default to be human readable, i.e. I'm Cameron.near. Think about it being like ENS baked into the protocol, as well as account abstraction and everything else. And so I learned about this early on, given that my background was in education. I had to teach all these protocols. I came from the ETH space. I taught Avalanche, I taught Blockstack, I had to teach Solana and all this stuff. And I came across Near, I'm like, wait, this is addressing all of the main problems that I've witnessed firsthand trying to, accelerate adoption. And so I'm very excited about this. It all started with the account model and sharding with me. And I love what KeyPalm is doing. KeyPalm is really kind of pushing the bounds of what's possible when it comes to onboarding users easily and sort of, again, abstracting that pretty crappy blockchain experience away. So with that said, I'm going to hand it off to Min, and he's going to talk a little bit about KeyPalm.
Right before, just in case, a reminder for anybody watching, if you have any questions or any comments, make sure to put it on the chat so we can broadcast it and answer any questions while we have Cameron and Min here. Go for it, Min.
Cool. Yeah, so there's kind of a few building blocks when it comes to abstraction on Near, namely meta transactions, named accounts, the ability for an account to hold multiple private keys and function call access keys, which we'll get to in a bit. Yeah, but I want to move on to the next slide, or the one after this, which is that, the one before that, sorry. On Near, every account is a smart contract. And so what that means is that every account is capable of storing data and modifying their data, as well as communicating with other accounts to modify their data. And then with enough usage, these contracts can become dApps, and dApps can become their own shards, right? So the account model on Near is very, very flexible. Yeah, but next slide. Oh, the one before that, sorry.
There's a lot of videos if you want to go check them out.
Yeah. I want to highlight the account model differences. Not sure.
Sorry, I can't see all the slides. Which one do you
want? The one comparing ETH wallets and Near accounts. Slide.
This one?
Yeah, this one. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so there's a few very key differences when it comes to accounts on Near versus wallets on ETH. The first one Cameron already mentioned was just the fact that accounts on Near have the option to be named. And so instead of just being represented by their public key, instead I would just be sending money to like Cameron.near or Min.near, right? And that makes it a lot easier for users to interact with each other. And as well, one really interesting aspect is that these accounts on Near are capable of holding multiple access keys or key pairs. And so on ETH, you have one private key that controls the entire account. But like Cameron mentioned, accounts on Near, you can have a wide variety of different keys that are capable of doing different things, right? So we have two different types of keys, like full access keys, which basically grant full access to the account, so they can change the account state. They can make calls on behalf of that account. And we also have these things called function call access keys, which are meant for you to give out to apps so that apps can transact on your behalf. And these access keys are limited to basically calling a single contract and a set of methods, right? And so that basically restricts the app from making calls that you don't authorize, you don't want on your behalf. Right?
So just to make it clear, there's multiple sets of keys. One that just says go for it at all, right? And then someone
Yeah.
says to you, "Hey man, I want to borrow $20," and you're like, "Get it from my wallet." You gave that one person permission to get exactly $20 from your wallet, and that's a specific key for that one defining moment. It does not say take 20 or 25 or 30 or take my credit card. It's take $20 out of my wallet, and here's the key for this one specific pass. Is kind of the goal, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it also it allows like um apps to make like any kind of function call in your name, right? So like if you're like let's say like near social like near.org, when you write a post, what you're doing is you're modifying the near social contract on the back end, but they're able to make that transaction in your name and change the state on their contract that way. um, yeah, it's really cool. I think this is the best part of near in my opinion, but I'm a little biased.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting. Kind of like 437 smart contracts allowing limitations on there. It's just
Yeah.
I'll come back to that with all the different keys of how do you manage all those keys. But keep going. I don't want to flow.
Okay, sweet. um yeah, so this, yeah, the I guess this is kind of important. Because your account has a bunch of different keys, I think it's very important for you to be able to track where your keys are in a sense, right? And what apps are using it. So if you go to like and explore like nearblocks, like nearblocks.io, you can check out all of the apps that are using your access keys. And you can also see if they're limited access, meaning that they can only call certain contracts, or if they're full access keys, meaning they have full access to your account. Um,
Can we blow that up a little bit more? It's kind of hard to see for everybody. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. So you can see there's just the public key, the type of access, the contract, uh, the methods that are for limited access keys, and the allowance when they were added, all that kind of stuff. Um, yeah, cool.
So
Um,
for EVM hardcores is someone it looks similar to like revoke.cash for approvals on your in your single public key. So I'm assuming it's just a whole bunch of different keys on there. Pretty cool.
yeah, and one thing is the full access keys can remove other keys. Like you're always free to remove function call access keys, and you can also remove full access keys using a full access key. So this is not just like something that like you give it to a DApp and they always have it, right? You're in full control. You have full custody over who has access to your account.
Can I jump in real quick? My favorite part about Keepom and just the account model generally is this concept of trial accounts. And what this is, in short, is you're able to say, hey, Billy, here's $20, but you're only allowed to use this $20 to transact on Uniswap. And this is really cool. I think of it like an on-chain gift card because not that long ago, I went to a pretty cool like farmers market in Berkeley, in Oakland, and they were doing like USDC for the farmers. Like you can change. You essentially you give the person $10 on Venmo, you get $20 in USDC. The problem was there was no way to verify that you're spending that USDC at the farmers market. So people pretty much could have just walked to USDC and 2x their money. But with this, it's like on-chain gift cards, and I think that this is going to be a huge unlock for the space because people don't have gas. In short, if you want people to actually like use your app, get them to try the app before you try to get them to download a wallet, write down a seed phrase, all the whole thing. And so, shout out to the Keepom team for building this. It's like really cool.
That's really cool. We have a couple comments. Like in essence, I'm not sure what RBAC per action is on there. Is that the correct statement?
I'm sorry, where's this?
I have it broadcasting on the screen. So let me just repeat it in case you can't see it. So it's in essence RBAC per action to be executed on a target address wallet.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like from my understanding, let me get clear. Our ABC. Yeah, you're essentially giving the access key. It's a function access key, so you're essentially defining a function for that key to execute. If that answers the question.
Okay, role access space control was the RBAC. Thank you, JRAP. And then just one other quick question on there is like, how does chain abstraction and factionalism and maximalism? That's a very broad question. I don't know if we can answer it in the hour, but just throwing it out there for the question.
Oh, I will get into this.
Okay.
And we're starting with the accounts because accounts is kind of where the user's journey starts.
Yeah.
We'll get into the execution and on-chain, like the on-chain front ends and all that piece, because quite frankly, we don't really care where you deploy your contracts, which is a huge lift for us because it's really hard to convince people to rewrite their entire apps in Rust and deploy on a chain that's relatively new. And so we're starting with keys because this is really where it all sort of begins.
Yes.
But yeah, Min, is there anything else you want to add here?
Yeah, I think no, I think we can just move on to sub accounts. I'm not too worried. Something else that's very interesting with near accounts is the idea of a sub account. So the way that they work is basically like they're basically like children of one account, right? So like Cameron.near can create mini.cameron.near, basically. And so that allows you to organize smart contracts very well, so that they're all kind of like related to each other. But the key aspect is that these sub accounts don't share any access keys with the parent account, right? So you can't actually control the sub account with the parent account, which provides a sense of like security in a way. I don't know how to describe it.
I would say like a Disney Plus account. You're the parent and you want to give your kids an account, but you don't want them charging stuff on there or adding channels that you don't
Yeah,
want. So you
exactly.
have full control. Yeah.
Exactly.
Plug for Disney Plus, you know.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm going to spend some time to talk about Keepon. I think that's my favorite topic. So like I said earlier, we're an account abstraction protocol on Near. And so our main goal is to basically help developers deliver instant crypto experiences by leveraging Near's account abstraction. And so to do that, what we do is we basically load these experiences onto a limited or a function called access key. And developers can define these experiences using our platform and then distribute access keys to people. And then the people can use those access keys to gain that experience or gain whatever it is, whatever the developer defined, without needing to actually have an account on Near. And so like Cameron mentioned, I think he did a really, really, really good job at explaining trial accounts. But yeah, it's basically a Web3 gift card. And what's cool is that we have a wallet selector like plugin that works so that if you integrate it properly, you can basically land on a site and just pick a username and get started right away with transacting on chain. You don't actually need seed phrases, no money, nothing really. It's just type in your name and go. All right. And so it's super duper friendly and people don't even need to know that they're transacting on chain at that point. And like Cameron mentioned, this money is allocated towards that specific app, right? And so developers can have confidence in creating these kind of like onboarding campaigns, knowing that the funds are actually going to be used for what they want. Something else that we've done that we're still doing pretty actively is blockchain ticketing. And this is kind of just to highlight that like account abstraction really allows you to go beyond like just apps on chain. It allows to connect people that aren't crypto native, right? They don't need to know that they're using the blockchain in the backend, but they still get all the benefits from it. Right. And so recently, this November, we were at NearCon 2023, and we basically we did all the ticketing for them, but each ticket was just a limited. It was just a function called access key, and what that allowed them to do is basically the flow is very similar to a trial account. So they come to the conference and then they put in like their name, and that's it, right? And once they put in their name, they just start earning and spending these fungible tokens that were kind of like created for the sake of this event called NCon. But what you could do is you could earn it by going to talks and then spend it on merch or spend it on food and stuff like that. And so all these transactions were happening on chain, and they're all kind of like building up a little portfolio on chain without really knowing that they were using the blockchain, which is, I think, really quite cool.
Quick question on that. So like when you have all
Yeah,
these sub accounts and you're handling the tickets, basically Palm is controlling the main account and then distributing all the sub accounts, and that's like the master key.
Yeah, yeah, kind of. So all the accounts that are created are still like normal Near accounts. So they like you could just create like BillyJitsu.near, basically.
I do have it. I got it.
Yeah. But yeah, we just basically create the environment for that to happen, basically, right? Like in the background, there's a lot of stuff happening on chain, but the user doesn't need to know that. Right? That's kind of the core.
Well, I guess my key question in this is also for the challenge of hackathon. Like if I created this sub account and then I made BillyJitsu.near on this account, I say, you know what, I really love this event. It's my first time using Near. I would like to make this my main wallet. Is that possible? Is kind of the question. Like, does Palm own that key and it's a sub account, or is it its own individual account? Then I can take and then use it from all my other stuff.
No. So you have full custody of the account. Like you
Oh, okay.
can once like the way our protocol works is that once you go through the experience, you offboard and you basically swap out the function call access key for your own seed phrase generated private key. And so you go through that whole kind of like write down your seed phrase and then what's the nth word, whatever, right? But the whole idea is that we want to move that kind of barrier further down the road, right? We don't want you to have to do all that stuff coming in through the door of the event, basically.
Gotcha. So like it's like a free trial on an app, and then once that free trial's up, you're like, you want to buy it, purchase it, or whatever. Then you do all the extra steps, put in your
Exactly.
credit card, put all that stuff, and then it's yours.
Exactly.
Got it. Cool. Very cool.
Yeah, we kind of like to call this like progressive onboarding. Like no one should be thrown a seed phrase, especially in English. Like if you're growing up in like in a non-English speaking country, to start using an app. Like it just doesn't make any sense. Again, we are NGMI if this is going to be the long-term solution for like billions of people. So yeah, I love KeepHom. I think this is like one of the most compelling things about your ecosystem. But it's really just a piece to this big puzzle, and I kind of want to dive into all these other pieces because holy crap, there's so much to unpack. And we're really talking about like every single layer of a blockchain here and how they can not only be optimized for a monolithic experience, but also modular to kind of plug into other ecosystems if they want to. And that's the whole point. It's optionality for developers. For us to really kind of scale the billions of people or millions of devs, we need to provide that optionality. And so I'm going to kind of breeze through some of this meta transactions and relayer stuff. It's very similar to the paymaster stuff in the Ethereum ecosystem. But again, these are relayers that are run by a company, and these transactions can be sponsored by this company. And there's a repo where you can just run your own relayer and just pay for these meta transactions for your users, again, so they don't have to. I don't know if anyone's building a game in the audience, but I've been playing games my entire life, and there's no way in hell I'm going to click approve transaction every time and want to pay for gas. It just won't work. I won't play. So this is another sort of prerequisite for that use case. And this is just kind of how meta transactions work. I'm happy to dive into this if there's any specific questions. But there's so much to get through. I kind of want to breeze through some of the meta transaction relayer stuff because it's relatively straightforward. The only thing that I would be cognizant of is if you're subsidizing the gas for a user and that user might be using that application or something for something that might not be totally kosher to the government that they live in, you might be liable for the activities that you're subsidizing. So be careful of what you're subsidizing is my non-legal advice. So yeah, just want to be very cognizant there. But at the same time, this is such a huge unlock for user experience. And so I guess this is where regulation and use case will eventually merge and kind of find some nice middle ground. But in the meantime, just be careful of what you're subsidizing.
Really quick, for those that don't really understand what rate layers are, it's basically they cover the gas cost for your transaction. So if I wanted to mint an NFT, instead of popping up, MetaMask and then hitting mint, and then I have to estimate my gas and then sign off of it, I just hit mint and it just happens. And then somebody else is covering the gas, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. A great use kind of parallels. You don't really know how much, Facebook's or Instagram's AWS bill is. They're paying for all the infrastructure and you're just benefiting from the experience. This is the vehicle in which this will happen in Web3. The cool thing about Near's relayer model is it is inherently multi-chain. And if you start identifying these trends with the account model as well, it's super flexible and modular in a way. And so you can technically, there needs to be protocol upgrade, but change which tokens are used to pay for gas on Near. So you can technically pay, gas on Near with USDC if that is what the validators want. But again, that's not fully there right now, but theoretically this is possible. And the whole goal is to how do you then, let's say we're trying to abstract blockchains away, what tokens do you really need for gas? If you only have in your account, how do you pay for gas on Bitcoin? If you only have in your account, how do you pay for gas on ETH? You shouldn't have to go buy Bitcoin, deposit in the account, and that is just a terrible experience. And so this is also where the liquidity layer comes in. But again, we're going to hold off on that for now because it's a deep topic.
I think we have a question for both of us actually. Is this abstraction a model that can be beneficial to secure external API calls through an oracle?
Yeah. So if you trust the oracle.
Yeah, that was going to be my answer too. I mean, a side note, I do work with API 3 and there is an oracle system, and in a sense, when we have the random numbers that come, paid for off chain, it's an off chain call and it returns an API. We're assuming that we trust that source, but it is an account abstraction. We are paying for the gas to come back in and then supply that number. So in a sense, yes, as long as it's a trusted source, but in this world, we know, don't trust, verify. So.
And I love that statement have resonated with me for a very long time. And I love this in regards to front ends. This is where I'm just seeing so many issues in Web3 today. If projects are getting hacked, they're changing account addresses. How do you actually verify that the front end is communicating with the proper contract? But we're going to get into that real quick. I'm just going to breeze through relayers. Yeah, relayers again. Yeah, Billy kind of talked about this. Oh, MPC, very important. MPC is essentially multi-party computation for short, is a way to sort of trustlessly maintain or manage keys where certain parties hold access to certain keys, but don't ever have full access to the account. And why this is important is not only for random key generation, but also for recovery. And if we're trying to build Web3 for the billions of people, grandma's going to lose her things. I lose my things, quite frankly. I have been in this space for a while. I recently lost a wallet. It makes me feel really dumb. And we need to solve this in order for billions of people to come into Web3. And so Near does have a native MPC solution primarily for key recovery. And this, I'm going to be transparent here. I need to do more research into exactly how that machine operates. But they do use biometrics and secure enclaves on your devices to store partial keys. And if you're able to like have your seed phrase and your face and something else, you can like recover. Or just like if you have, let's say you share your seed phrase with your mom or somebody that you trust, but they can access the entire account just through that app like that, you're going to need your face as well. And so it's like this kind of two out of three party system in order to like recover your account. Super important for mass adoption. And so sign message, this is all these videos decide to play. Very similar, like how do you give an access key that can sign transactions for a lot of other applications or a lot of other use cases? This is a standard that has been implemented and merged into a lot of the key applications of the system. There's videos and everything kind of unpacking this if you want to dive into it. So that is all the account stuff. I have not gotten into the account aggregation and multi-chain accounts. We started planning this hackathon when the timeline for that was supposed to be live. It's not. So I don't have many tangible like use cases to show you today about what account aggregation really is, but there are amazing videos about this that I can send your way. But in a nutshell, if every wallet is a smart contract, or every account is a smart contract, and you can allow any near account to transact or sign transactions on any other chain that supports ECDSA signatures. And currently that is Bitcoin, Ethereum, BSC, Doge, Zcash, and a couple more. But the whole idea here is like, how do you have one account that can sign transactions on all these chains and manage assets? We don't have this live. It is on testnet. So when I say live, it's not on mainnet. If you want access, you can DM me and I can ping the product manager who's primarily building this. We do want people to experiment with it, but we started planning this hackathon assuming that would have been live, and it's not. But don't worry, this is just one piece to the whole chain abstraction puzzle. The other piece that I, again, am really excited about is the decentralized front-end component. But the whole idea is like, you can put an arbitrary amount of private keys in a near contract that map to a wallet on another chain. So you essentially like create a near account, simultaneously you're creating a Bitcoin account, a Bitcoin wallet, but you're having that Bitcoin private key in your near account, and your private key can give you access to all these other ECDSA based blockchains.
One thing I want to throw on there, I saw a really, really cool project as you're saying this right now, is like someone was working on a legal project, like say they were EVM based and they needed someone to sign off with their wallet on this document, but they only had a Bitcoin address, right? So it's like, hey, let me send this document, and then signs off and then showed the signature. So they didn't have to go and make an EVM wallet and then go do this. They could just sign it off with their Bitcoin wallet, and it showed it on the EVM layer. So which was really cool.
Exactly. You're nailing it. Like,
yeah.
This, like, frankly, I'm getting a little fed up with the space because it's so fragmented. Like, it's getting more fragmented as we continue building, and we're not building for normal people these days. Like, it's only becoming more and more isolating. And so I think that these types of innovations are absolute prerequisites if we want to sort of break out of our little Web3 bubble. And so in order for this chain abstraction narrative to really come to life, you do need to make sure that the data is available. And that is primarily for, reconstructing all the blocks, because if you can't actually, you can't reconstruct the state, how do you verify that transactions actually happened? And so since it is a sharded, very scalable blockchain, you can store insane amounts of data on Near very cheaply. And so much cheaper than Ethereum. And these are just some benchmarks that we estimated about. It was about a month ago or so. And yeah, I think it's like 8,000 times cheaper than Ethereum. About 28 times cheaper than Celestia, and very high throughput. And so you can go to near.org/data availability to learn more about this. But the whole idea is like, you're going to need to actually store the state of other chains on Near if you want to reconstruct their blocks and verify that those transactions actually happened. And so this is a new product, by the way. This came out it was announced about a month ago or 2 months ago. And we partnered up with Arbitrum and Polygon and OP to actually provide this for all of their like Polygon SDK, like the CDSK or something, like their
The CDK.
CDK. Arbitrum's all their rollup, Optimism all their rollup chains. Like this is super exciting, and we see this as like another sort of prerequisite for this chain abstraction narrative to come to life.
Real quick question on here, and I think I know the answer is, but what is the best place to learn about chain abstraction?
Well, this is all very new. So this hackathon is literally the best place. We're unpacking it. But there are, I guess, the challenge here is there's so many pieces to this puzzle. Like you need to talk about accounts. You need to talk about execution. You need to talk about liquidity. You need to talk about front ends, identity. This is all chain abstraction. And so we're creating the content right now and we will continue doing this. But yeah, this hackathon is honestly the best place to get started. And or become a subject matter expert in like one of the like pieces of the stack, because again, people dedicate their entire lives just to key management or just data availability and build now billion-dollar startups just targeting this one vertical. We're targeting all of them, and again, this is like what we kind of like to frame as modular with the optionally monolithic. So you can go the monolithic route and just have everything on here, or you can just like take the data availability piece and apply it to your rollup on Arbitrum, or the account aggregation piece and apply it for your Bitcoin NFT marketplace. Like this is the exciting part about this hackathon. And we're literally just getting started here. So like if you're new to Web3, you're entering a completely new paradigm than what like the paradigm that existed when I entered, when it was pretty much just like Ethereum and Bitcoin. So this is really exciting, and it has honestly like put new wind in my sails and like interest in this industry, because I've been a little bit like frustrated with all the fragmentation. Like the experience has historically only been getting worse. And I love the Ethereum innovations around account abstraction, because that's like huge step forward. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. I wish I had a better there's a lot of great content on YouTube, and in this presentation you can actually, like, I added little learn mores, and there's a resources page that we created for the abstracting hackathon as well. So if you go to abstracting.org/manual, there's a wide variety of resources, and you can check that out here. I just dropped in the chat. Cool. Anything regarding the data availability piece? The TLDR is you need everything on chain, and in order to reconstruct blocks and actually verify and prove that state is accurate. And it's very cheap. Cool.
Either everybody's solid or everybody's lost. One or the other. Don't be afraid to ask questions. We'll highlight it.
So I misspelled layer, but the whole point of the execution layers, there's many different sort of, I guess, options for it. There's going to be a ton of innovation on the execution side of things, especially regarding all the innovation in ZK, because now you're going to be able to like verify state. I'm not saying without consensus completely, but you're not going to need to validate every single transaction via a network of validators or miners. You can essentially just take a proof of a proof of a proof of a proof of a proof. And this is what we call like recursive proofs. And a lot of this was pioneered by the Mina team. Shout out to them. They're awesome. Highly recommend. I think Developer DAO did something with them not that long ago. They're sweet. Really like what they're doing. And but that's one option. There's a couple other options within execution on Near, and that is there's the WebAssembly, VM, and this is also kind of what attracted me to Near early on, is because I saw firsthand like the internet pretty much runs on WebAssembly today. Like WebAssembly is what powers like the vast majority of apps that we use in Web 2. And so if we wanted to meet developers and users where they are, then we need to support WebAssembly. This is where I think the whole industry is going to be going. I love Ethereum. Ethereum is what got me in here, but I think the future of blockchains is WebAssembly and the present, honestly. So, and Arbitrum's actually taking the same approach. What I liked about it is meeting developers where they are when it comes to JavaScript. I really want to be able to build full stack decentralized applications in JavaScript. Why? Because there's about 2.5 million JavaScript developers in the world, and there's about 20,000 blockchain devs. Those are very big different numbers. And I want to teach people how to program money at scale. And so, because the world, in my eyes, is my like logic map, is the world's not inherently broken. It's just like the incentives that power it are. And money is the root of that. If we can program money, we can program incentives. Let's get as many people as we possibly can to learn how to program money to see if we can build a better incentive system. And that requires meeting people where they are. And that means JavaScript. And so this is where I really like WebAssembly. It's very browser native, but it also gives people the option to write contracts in Rust and pretty much anything that compiles down to WebAssembly. So that is like one execution environment. Simultaneously on Near, there was a team that rewrote the entire Ethereum virtual machine in Rust on Near as a smart contract. And what I mean by that is like all the opcodes, everything having to do with EVM was rewritten in Rust and just deployed on Near as a smart contract. As that smart contract gained more demand and people were deploying their EVM-based applications into that virtual machine, it grew. And as it grew, it became its own shard. And the shard, the reason why it needs to become its own shard is because you want to ensure that transaction fees are low and throughput is high. And so you actually needed to have a protocol upgrade to create more block space to facilitate the use cases of the apps deploying on this shard. This shard is called Aurora, and that is pretty much one of the execution environments that you can sort of decide on in the Near ecosystem. Why I think this is really important is because, again, we need to meet people where they are. If you're Solidity dev, just redeploy your contracts. If you're a Rust dev, there you go. If you're a JavaScript dev, there you go. The coolest thing that I think is happening is the ZK Wasm partnership that we have with Polygon. And this was announced about at NearCon about a month and a half ago. And the whole idea here is we're working with Polygon to essentially create a ZK prover that can verify computation on any WASM-based virtual machine. That extends way beyond blockchains, by the way. This is for like IoT devices and your laptop, and like blockchains are a piece of it. And that's what the Polygon CDK team really wants, is because they want to work with WebAssembly-based chains as well. You can do trustless bridging this way. You can there's a lot of running, light clients on your mobile phone. Like if this works well, this is a completely new paradigm of the internet. And I'm very grateful to be a part of this, because I think that this is like by far one of the most important things that expands beyond crypto. So that's another execution layer. Again, you kind of have options. No, I just said a lot. Any questions there?
We do have a couple, but just to say, like when people think Near, they think Rust, right? And it was really good to clear it up that you can bring in your Solidity on Aurora EVM. You can write stuff in JavaScript, and like it's not just Rust. So I think that scared a lot of people away from Near. When I actually did the Near Academy, I think 2 years ago, that's when they started talking about the WebAssembly and getting in there, and I got to play around with it a little bit, and like it's crazy to see how much it's grown from there. Really cool.
Yeah, that is we started supporting like assembly script first, and there was a little bit of a design decision that was really hard to manage, because you have a small limited amount of resources. You can only support all the Rust stuff and the assembly script stuff. It was hard to balance, and so we essentially opted for JavaScript over assembly script, and then focused short-term resources on Rust. Patterns of chain abstraction we should learn. Are there any documented patterns on chain abstraction we should learn? Yes, primarily in the decentralized front-end piece. Make structure inaccessible. Yeah, I mean, the challenge here, again, is that the account aggregation piece isn't totally live yet, but I'm running out of time. There's a lot to unpack. And so let me breeze through some of this and just talk about the decentralized front ends. And I call this like the user layer. And the reason why is because this is what users really see. You don't really care that your mobile app or your favorite web app is on AWS or Azure or GCP. All you really want to know is that it works fast, it works well, and it's secure. And so what we're really focusing on is putting all of that JavaScript code or like React in a smart contract on Near itself. And when you do that, you're actually making this some sort of like on-chain React component. And what I think is so cool about this is, actually, I'm going to just show you if that's cool. What's cool about this, if you go to near.org, and let's say I wanted to use like Lido, I can go to Lido. Oops, not that. Sorry. I can go to Lido and find a Lido component. And what this is primarily a test net right now. This is actually, there's a mainnet implementation, but this is Lido. It's just looks like a, one basic UI. But the cool thing here is you're able to completely fork this code and change the CSS to match the brand of your site, and now just embed Lido into your app. This is all the contracts on Lido, not all of them, but these contracts are pointing towards ETH L1. So we don't care where you deploy your contracts. As long as you store your JavaScript code on Near, you're able to call like Ethers.js to transact on Ethereum, even though the front end is on Near. And why I think this is so cool is because it's sort of introducing this concept of composable modular React components to Web3, something that made Web2 so much, the front end development in Web2, it lowered the barrier of entry tremendously. People being able to go to Storybook and just plug and play. You need a carousel, boom, here's your carousel. But now it's, you need a DEX, you want to have, quadratic funding in your app, you want to, embed pretty much any app that you would want in your site. If you put that JavaScript code on chain, you essentially create an on-chain React component. This helps tremendously with censorship resistance because you'd pay once and deploy forever. So you could just have an account. Doesn't need to necessarily be linked to a bank account or linked to, an AWS or Netlify or whatever it is. You just deploy and it's there forever. I think that this is another huge paradigm shift for the open web. And you're kind of decentralizing the front end as well. But the I guess one challenge here is maybe I don't have the graphic, but someone needs to run this thing called a gateway. This is like the website that is actually, the URL, like who's maintaining the website. All these components are on chain. And if, let's say, some entity wants to shut down your site, sure, they can shut down your site, like, at the DNS. But the cool thing here is all of that's still on chain. It's all versioned. And so you would be able to essentially just like pull up all the data is on chain through the data availability, especially if it's cross chain through the DA product. But you're able just to pull up recompose state and then kind of have everything that you had before, just to point to a different like gateway. And I think that's really exciting. So in a nutshell, what I would like to see in this hackathon are people building more decentralized front ends on Near. And we actually have a ton of ideas, by the way, about, if you go to this link here, I think I dropped this slideshow in the chat, but if not, you can just go to the Abstraction website and you can see all the list of ideas. And one of the key things that I would really want is like I don't know if anyone here is a part of like the nouns community, but they're seemingly very interested in people creating very composable front ends. And so I would like to see like a nouns front end stored on chain on Near. And again, you can call the minting contracts on ETH or any chain that you really want. It's only EVM right now. There will be IBC support soon. And the cool thing there is now you're able to actually store any EVM-based product as a component on Near. And so there's this one app that's really pushing the bounds here. It's called DapDap. It's still in alpha. So if you want to check it out, it's alpha.dapdap.net. I'm not a part of this project. I just love it. And what you're able to do here is, check out all these different chains who they've partnered with Mantle, they've partnered with Polygon, ZK EVM, Base, and others. So you can actually just go and use, a Mantle bridge So if I just change my network, find mantle, I'm now able to switch chain. Let's do this. In one UI, access all of these different chains, which is super cool. And I think the primary use case for this is one, building composable super apps. So these are all sort of like composable React components you're able to just like put in together and create your super app of choice. But I think the main use case of this right now is airdrop farming, because you can essentially just hop from like dApp to dApp to dApp, network, and do your transactions and qualify for an airdrop. And so there's this like Polygon ZK EVM like quests. So you go to the quests, you check them out, you swap on quick swap, you provide liquidity through Gamma, and you kind of just like do it again and again and again, all in one UI. No need to switch URLs, no need to do any of that. And so I think that this is a pretty cool sort of test case of what this on-chain composability really looks like. And the coolest part is it's all multi-chain. So again, write your contracts in Solidity, deploy them on Polygon ZK EVM. Just make your app composable for anyone else to fork, still calling your contracts. You can still generate revenue on the contract deployer side, but not necessarily care about your front end.
Just a quick side note, there was an exploit last night on Gamma, so don't deposit liquidity just yet. But hold off until they fix the issue. It seems like there's a small one, but yeah, really cool. I think when we were having conversation, decentralized front ends or like the things that really blew my mind, especially like, is there Uniswap on there already?
Yeah.
So Uniswap did change their front end code to charge a fee to use their front end. So if you didn't want to use the Uniswap front end and to pay that fee, you could fork and then use your own Uniswap interface and avoid that fee as well. So like that, there's advantages, or you can create your own front end and market it as like a cheaper fee option for Uniswap for maybe an aggregator or some sort. But really, really cool.
So other ideas that like would love for people to, and I'm down to stay on after and kind of just like shoot the shit around some ideas, because we have a big problem around discoverability. If you may have noticed here, I type in Lido, there's a lot of Lidos that come up. How do I verify that the Lido that I want is the right Lido and not pulling money into some other random contract? Now, this is a problem on a sort of generalized search function, like engine, kind of like near.org, but this is where people run their own gateway. So they only display the components that they have verified themselves. Like if they, with Polygon CKVM, anyone can then go create a new Gamma or QuickSwap component, but the only one that Polygon that will be just displayed on DapDap will be the one that DapDap chooses. So that's sort of like a quick fix, but we absolutely need more component discovery and kind of curation teams and people like focused on this, because again, this is way beyond near. This is going to be applicable for anybody. And what I'm excited about is building full stack dApps in JavaScript, because all this is JavaScript. So if you're a front end dev looking to get into Web3, just fork these components, change the CSS. Now you got Uniswap in your app. Like that to me is so cool. So I know we're out of time, but for the hackathon track, we have general prizes. We have account abstraction prizes with KeyPalm, front end prizes. The prizes will be formally announced on Monday. This is sort of just an entry discussion around what this chain abstraction really is. There's a big partnership with EigenLayer as well to do sort of like fast finality to support their data availability product. There's tons of resources, almost too many resources. We're trying our best to kind of unite them. But where there is, I guess, inefficiencies, there's opportunity. So yeah, if anyone's interested in building in the hackathon, don't hesitate to reach out. My handle on Telegram is the best way to reach me, or you can hit me up on Twitter too. I'm just Cameron_Dennis. And we'll make these slides available. And there's all these different groups of support. We'll have office hours frequently. There's, within the developer DAO Discord, you can obviously get your support. We're getting some of our people in there to check in and provide support. Too many channels, honestly, but they're all support related. So we're trying our best. Yeah. So
Couple questions on here. So I know quite a few Arweave devs. I know quite a few IPFS devs that host their website. What is the major difference between hosting something on IPFS and then hosting something on Boss?
Yeah, it's the composability across all other apps. So
Okay.
you're able to, and also like you would have to bring down the entire near network for this component to be gone. So the composability is critical. The I guess censorship resistance, I guess IPFS and Arweave have that as well. I think the best future here is really just we will provide at one point an option to deploy anywhere. Like we are more focused on creating the open internet than pushing near, frankly. And the reason for this is because again, Ilya co-authored this paper, AI, like literally started all the AI revolution today. And this is not about crypto. This is about ensuring humanity can maintain their digital rights and digital livelihoods in a world where we AI is running everything. And so crypto is a step to that process. We are thinking way beyond blockchains, frankly. If you can probably tell with the ZK provers verifying any WebAssembly compute, multi-chain accounts for identity, like there's a lot to unpack here, and I wish I had more time, but this is just getting started. I'll be around. We're doing workshops every week up throughout the hackathon. There'll be I guess Billy, if you want to talk a little bit more about like the writing competition and everything else, might be good.
Yeah, I guess real quick, I didn't.
Oh,
I
sorry.
guess my question didn't come out right. If I deployed something in Arweave and hosted it there, what would be different to host it in Near? Is there any difference? Do I have to adjust my code, anything, or is it almost like a copy paste?
It's okay. So this is where the VM, the virtual machine that kind of stores all of this JavaScript code,
Yeah.
it does not support generalized React right now. It's sort of like it's like JSX.
Okay.
And so that is actively changing. There are a lot of people. I skipped through a slide of a guy gives a workshop on how to make requests to change the VM to support. But right now, it probably would need to be sort of rewritten or optimized for this specific VM, which
Okay.
is not ideal, but we are working on just supporting all the React. The issues there is around security. We want to make sure all this stuff is super secure. And that's kind of where we're starting slow. All this was announced about a year ago, and we've seen a ton of demand and traction, but we haven't turned on all the switches to support like all React yet because of some concerns.
Got it. Got it. Okay, good to know. If anybody listening out there, then no copy paste. You're gonna have to readjust, but still pretty good. And also, while we're doing this, we have the. Where would anybody start right now if they wanted to go sign up for the hackathon? What's the link? Where should they go?
Abstracting.org, abstracting.org. Abstracting.org. There's a register button. You can also I'll be active in the developer DAO Discord as well, just kind of dropping links there. I think we got you in maybe, but we're going to get more people in there. So just express interest. We will reach out, but definitely just go to abstracting.org and register there.
Okay. And now we covered account abstraction on this course. Is that part of the hackathon? Or are you looking for more decentralized front ends? Like, what are we looking for as in general for this entire hackathon?
So yeah, there's a couple pieces there. I think the sort of most mature part of the stack that people can build on today is the decentralized front end piece and the account abstraction piece, but not the necessarily account aggregation. That is like a multi-chain account, which we can get you on testnet and get you kind of chipping away at that. It is super rough around the edges, but I would say, yeah, decentralized front ends, then KeyPalm would be the two. And we're going to host a workshop next Thursday just about decentralized front ends.
Yeah.
And then the following week,
yeah. No, that's this same time that you guys watch in next week, Thursday, just in case. Go on. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. And also we're going to be, I don't know if anyone here lives in New York or San Francisco. We're going to be doing in real life sessions where just like office hours, come and meet the team, come and hang out, build together. We'll be doing that. Everything's actually on the abstracting.org website. And we'll be, sharing all this stuff with Developer DAO and working together on this. So more to come.
And then finally, just so you know, we also have $1,000 thread competition for all the writers out there that like to write threads, the threaders. We're having I'm going to post that link in there, but basically it's going to be going on through the month. We want to have a really in-depth, detailed guide about your thread, about what Near is doing, boss, account abstraction, everything you've learned on the workshop, everything you've learned on the hackathon. Stay tuned, keep it going, and $1,000, writing a thread, make money everywhere you go. Hacks, threads, good luck. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome, guys. Billy, I'm just going to drop the calendar link. There is a calendar link where you can stay updated with all of the different events we have going on. We're going to be throwing this link in there. And so, yeah, hope to see you guys all soon and actually meet some of you. This has been, I prefer interactive, I hope to actually like see faces next time.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Let me repost that link really quick just to make sure that doesn't get cut off. Let me get that calendar link. And yeah, so one last question is, what's the best way to find a team right now? Are you having team forming sessions in the Near Discord or channels?
Yep, that's going to be in the BuildDAO Telegram group. And we did run a team building workshop yesterday. And so we'll be doing more of these. There's almost daily office hours that people can go and just meet other people, or honestly just DM me. Like I have so many people DMing me, like wanting teams. So I'm playing middleman, trying to connect people. So yeah, DM me on Twitter.
Okay. Awesome. Well, good to have you guys. Look forward to next week on the decentralized front end tutorial. We're just going to go deep dive into the decentralized front end, forking and building it out, right? All right. Awesome, guys. All right. And that's that. If you have any questions, definitely reach out to Cameron, check out the links, or jump into the Developer Hour Discord, and we'll guide you to the right location. Looking forward, guys. Remember, it's January 8th all the way to the 28th. And the writing starts pretty much the same, ends on the 30th. Catch you guys later.
Awesome. See you guys. Thanks for having me.